Now let's find where our airport is. Dude, look at that ortho. That looks sick. Wow, look at that. Little color weirdness is interesting. All right, so there's our airport. So we're actually pretty close to being about south from that airport. So if we pull the chute now, dude, we're gonna end up someplace weird. I don't think it's gonna. I can't imagine it moving that much. The level button works though. That's pretty cool. All right, let's punch it. There's 101. Would we drop it down to 15,000? Let's see if we can regain some of that as we slow down. So that'll be perfect. We'll get below our cap speed, and we'll be a little bit closer, and we'll be slower. And this thing will belong to the insurance company. Okay, we're right over Havasu right now. I'd say that's as good as any. Here we go. All right, hold on to your butts. Pulling it up. Oh, yes. And we were way slower too. That is violent. That is super violent. Oh man. And you're right, we would have totally chopped the string off, or rope, whatever. So let's see what it actually, how it is affected by the wind. It doesn't look like, well, yeah, it's kind of slowly moving with the wind, actually. We may we may make somewhere close to the airport. Yikes. Oh man, that looks so ridiculous. Oh man. So now we wait. What's our descent rate? 2,000 feet per minute. So that should slow down a little bit as the air starts getting thicker, but I don't know by how much. That's still going to be pretty. It's not going to like it. Landing rate plugin is not going to like that. Yeah, it's very violent, but you'll walk away from it. But that should slow down. That should start to slow down a little bit, like the further we get. Yeah, we're not looking like we're gonna make the airport. It's just gonna fall nicely. I mean, like, this is fine. This seems like just like a nice, we're just kind of floating down. But holy S.
Holy S, dude.
It is nice and peaceful. Well, it definitely beats the weird looping sound of the engine. How about that? Let's get ready to bail. Yeah, it's got a little bit of momentum to it, but really not a lot. Really not. I mean, it gusts 18 knots from 180. It probably would get there from here. We are about just under 3 miles from being on, you know, considered airport property, probably.
Pull up. Pull up.
That is ridiculous. Biohaz 57, welcome aboard. Thank you very much for following. My thoughts are that it is fine. It is great for a free plane. There's a couple of, like, the engine noise is pretty bad. But everything else, you get what you pay for, and even, you know, and then some. Yeah, super great freeware plane. There's no reason to not pick it up. We're getting closer. I mean, it's still moving. Our ground speed is 24 knots, so it is definitely still moving towards it, but I feel like it's just not as much as you would normally with... I mean, we're still 7,000 feet up, so... Yeah, it was annoying. I agree that that sound is annoying. It was good to put on the headset and not have to listen to that crap. Thanks, Soflo. You too, man. Can you put that back up? That's awesome. Where is it attaching to? Is it just, did it just pick a point, like kind of, yeah, just like vectored a point in the middle of the cockpit? That's interesting. We're getting closer. I mean, it's slowly. I thought it was going to be further away than it looks like it's going to be, but 5,300 feet. Oh, man. Dude, this would be a long trip down if you actually had to do this. Wow. That would be not fun. Is there any input that you can do? Is it going to do anything? Oh, you know what would be a great thing to do right now is have some of those beers. Shut the fuel off. Mixtures full back. Oh, now it's starting to windmill a lot. I'm sure you could, you know, with control surfaces, help slow the spin down or not. This is starting to get a little bit nauseous. Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah, it's starting to get not good. 17, we're still at 1750. Okay, so the descent rate did not slow down enough. Oh, 1750 is going to be hard. This is not my zoom level 18 Orange County. We're going to miss the town, so that's good. That's good. Okay. Brace for impact. We're gonna impact in the cockpit. This is 500 feet. Oh, what's the landing rate plugin going to give us? What is it now? It's 1600. Oh, this is gonna hurt so bad. Boom! Oh! 1.21 G, so it wasn't as bad. 1691 feet per minute. 1.2. Poor and early flare. Thanks for that. Oh boy. Well, pretty close to the airport. We could at least get some emergency equipment out here pretty quick. Oh man. All right, well, hold my beer. Good job, man. Yeah, well, now we can use the fire extinguisher, right? I don't think that's gonna do anything. Oh my god. Yeah, that was definitely more than a 10-foot drop for sure. Oh, hey Max. I know. Isn't that, it's pretty typical. The airport is just right over there, man. You're so close. So close. Hey Max, are you in the middle of something right now? I don't want to put you on the spot. If you're in the middle of something, I get it. But I would, we just pulled the caps. And if you have, I mean, I know you do, any insight on the training that they give you on how to pull it, when to pull it, and all that. Not really. If you wanted to jump on voice chat real quick, I'd love to ask you about that. But you're a busy man, so I didn't want to put you on the spot, but I just had that thought since we're now in this situation here. That just looks, I don't like crashing in the sim. It's just not, it feels like bad karma to do that. And this plane on fire just does not look good. I don't like that at all. Well, that would be lovely, Max. Let's see. Where'd you go? Okay.
What up, dude?
What up, man?
How's it going?
Great. How are you?
Good.
Happy Tuesday, dude.
Happy Tuesday, man. Dude, I'm pumped you're flying the Cirrus. Like, it's awesome. Now we need a freaking 4 Foxtrot Golf livery, and we're going to be in business. That's all we need in our life. We're done.
Dude, for a freeware plane, this is pretty sweet.
Dude, it's really good. I flew it version 1.0.
Yeah.
The first day it came out, had like 12 different things that I found that was wrong with it. Within like 4 days, boom, update. They'd fixed like 11 of them. Yeah, it's really good.
So I watched you do that, and I think one of them, let's see what version I got. Like, it were the flap speeds, I think, were one of them.
Yep. They fixed the flap speeds. They fixed just a bunch of stuff. They the guys on it, and apparently it's just him and like one other dude.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it's I mean the beer thing's a little gimmicky, like in the holder, but
yeah,
I don't know. It's
on brand. I mean, the name of their company is Hold My Beer, so I mean,
yeah,
they don't take themselves too seriously, which is good.
Yeah, which we like. No, it's good though. It's a good airplane. Yeah.
So we were like, obviously have to pull the caps thing. Now, I can't remember where I heard this, but I know that early on, Cirrus had a number of fatal accidents, and they kind of determined that they could stop a lot of that by updating their safety program, like their training program, and focusing, like they were training the caps deployment incorrectly at first, and they updated that. I don't know if you know any of that background or can speak to any of that, but what when you transition into a Cirrus, what kind of stuff did they tell you about the caps and the deployment, and how does it differ from just any other plane that doesn't have the parachute?
Yeah. So first bit, basically, when Cirrus first, did the 2022 whatever, no one really knew how to use the chute or how to train for people to use the chute, right? So initially, someone would lose their alternator and they would say, "Okay, whoops, I got a problem. I'm just going to pull the chute," right? Basically, the general gist of what it was. The pilot training was non-existent, and no one really knew how to use it. And everyone kind of thought, well, I have the parachute, so if I have a problem, I'll just pull it and it will save me. And that was it. It was kind of the new Dr. Killer from the Bonanza or whatever, V-tail Bonanza back in the day.
Yeah.
And then they realized, like, this is not good. So what ended up happening was they decided that the only way for really the pilots to kind of know what to do and how to use the caps is two things. One, to train the instructors how to use the caps properly. And then two, to be able to do all these fancy, like, e-learning portals and really get the training out there that's non-traditional, like just reading a POH or reading a book, because Cirrus pilots can't read. So basically you have to make it as easy as possible for them and just have slideshows on like a fancy
lots of pictures.
Yeah, exactly. Just pictures, videos, and have like a really pretty girl telling it to you, and you're totally fine. So that's basically how it started. And then they really did some really good things, right? They fixed kind of that, motto of, just pull the chute if I have a problem. And in the past 5 or 6 years, it's been a lot better. Like the track record has proven to be a lot better.
Okay.
But, there's still, guys that, in a way do it to themselves. They'll take off from Aspen in snow and they'll get iced up, and then they'll say, "Oh, well, I have the parachute, so I guess I'll just pull it if I have a problem." You know what I mean? And it's like that mindset that I think if guys didn't have the parachute, they wouldn't make decisions like that.
Right, right. It's almost too much of a safety net that you do stupid things that you normally wouldn't do, that the parachute is, might help or might get you out of it, but you shouldn't have been in that in the first place.
Right. Yeah, so, but they fixed, a lot of the stuff. I'll tell you, when I first started doing my Cirrus training, before I even soloed, you had to do and this was a flight school specific thing, not a Cirrus thing. You had to do with the owner of the flight school, a 2-hour caps demonstration talk about it and kind of different scenarios. Like a lot of the flight schools will do additional training on top of just Cirrus, provides, on their silly e-portal, like 5 slideshows. But I think the biggest thing with that is training for stuff like training so you didn't think you actually have a parachute on top of your head. And I think if you can train for a situation like that and have the parachute in a way as your last resort, like that's kind of how I was trained. Like my instructor's like, "All right, memory items for an engine failure. Let's go." You know what I mean? And like knowing those things, always looking out the window. Okay, if I lose my engine here, where am I going to go? Not thinking, okay, I lose my engine. Oh, I got a parachute. I don't care. It doesn't really matter to me. You know what I mean? Like that's the difference.
Okay.
And that's in a way like how I was trained, is like, don't, unless you're in a critical stage, for instance, some crazy thing, you're in a spin and you're uncontrollable, then obviously you're probably you're going to pull the caps. But majority of the time, you're not going to really need to pull the caps unless you're in a real pickle. So they've changed a bunch of things about the Cirrus. Caps deployment altitude, different procedures, and then we can get into the Vision Jet, which was a whole different thing, which is a whole crazy thing, having the parachute in the Vision Jet. So how it basically works in the G6, it's a little different. They actually, which I'm not sure why they did this, but they actually increased the altitude by 100 feet before you could pull the parachute. And I don't know if that was a certification issue or what
And it was, the last number that I heard was 600.
No, it used to, sorry, I flipped it. It used to be 600 AGL.
Okay.
And then they moved it down to 500 AGL
Okay.
in the newer Cirruses to get that extra 100 feet. So it used to be higher, now it's
Got it.
lower.
Okay.
And which is good, but also if you get 400 feet and you pull the parachute, or you're at 600 feet, I know they've certified it for 500 or 600, whatever it is. Does it really matter? 550, 490,
right.
570. You know what I mean? So it's like, obviously numbers are very, very important, but my kind of instructor told me if you lose your engine on the departure and you're at 400 feet, or you're at, let's say you're at 500 feet and you still have airspeed, right? why not try and climb before you pull the parachute? Don't just say, okay, I'm at 500 feet, 500 AGL, perfect, I'll pull the chute. If you have airspeed and try and get some more altitude, the more altitude you have, the more efficient the parachute will be. So,
so that is fundamentally different. That seems like it's the biggest fundamentally different thing regarding, specific failure scenario, where if you're engine out on takeoff, instead of, because
and you have nowhere to go.
Best glide on this is pretty high, right?
Yeah, it's like 8-1.
Yeah, so that's
a
little bit worse than a Bonanza, maybe.
Yeah, I'm not sure what a Bonanza is. That'd be a Mr.
Yeah, I think
Brad
Bonanza is
question.
9-1. I think, but it's like 110, isn't it? Like the speed, like 110 or something. Like you're moving.
No, best glide's 92.
Oh, I thought it was over 100.
No.
Okay, so 92 is not too bad.
VPD is 140, so you can't pull the caps unless you're slower than 140. Is demonstrated. Guys have pulled it at 200 knots and they've done okay, but VPD, which is caps deployment altitudes, at 140. So basically how a takeoff briefing would go is be like, at or below 500 AGL, no turns, no caps. From 500 AGL to 2000 AGL, we can pull the caps, everything straight ahead, and above 2000 AGL, we can pull the cap, start a turn, and start troubleshooting from there. Okay. Is basically how the brief goes.
Yeah.
Which is basically 500 to 2000, you can pull the caps, but you cannot turn. Everything straight ahead, and above 2000 feet, you can start to turn. However, if you're at 1,000 feet and you have a beautiful, like, huge, nicely mowed grass strip, or you have something like, and this is not Cirrus, recommended, but yeah. I can tell you, all the instructors tell you, if you feel comfortable that you can make it, go for that. And some guys will say, well, why? I have a parachute. It's insurance. It's how they look at it is, once there's a mechanical issue, it's not your airplane anymore. It's the insurance's airplane. So you're out, you're good. But do you also want to completely wreck a almost $1 million SR22 G6 when you can probably safely land on the grass, cause minor damage, at best put a new engine for 40 grand in there and call it a day?
Well, it's pretty violent too, isn't it? I mean, are you potentially saving yourself injury depending on, because if you're at 1,000 feet, you just took off from an airport. It kind of depends on where you're at. If you're in, Southern Ohio is probably different than New York or Los Angeles area. If I'm at 1,000 feet leaving, Cable or Hawthorne or something, there's not a lot of stuff. If I've got like the LA River or Torrance or some other airport or something that I could probably make, is there an actual safety? Like, it's safer to try to land it engine out than pulling the caps over buildings and like who knows where you're going to land.
I mean, sure, there's that. There's, are you going to come in? But you also look at this though, Bill. You're coming in at if you don't pull the parachute right, you're going to be coming in at 90 knots, 80 knots, 100 knots, right? So there's way more variables to look at from that perspective. Stopping, are you going to go into a house? If you're coming at the parachute, you're pretty much coming 10 knots, 20 knots down. You're going to hit hard, right?
Yeah.
But you're not going to potentially go into a gas station, take out 4 cars, and blow up the gas station.
In terms of like, if I had an engine out in a Bonanza or a 172, I still have like my usual, like, okay, I know like there's the freeway over here, there's a couple of football fields over there, or the LA River, or some, like, we have our landing spots picked out, even now without the parachute. At what point would it be too dangerous to pull the chute versus one of those predetermined landing spots? Or, as you're saying, is it just like, unless you're going to be landing on a skyscraper or something really crazy, it doesn't pay to try to land it?
I think it's so dependent on, 1, the pilot, 2, their proficiency, 3, their confidence, and 4, their, just to be honest, their scared factor at the moment. Because as you know, it's very easy for us to talk about the situation right now. We're taking off from Torrance, this and this happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There comes a point where like you're in the airplane and something happens and all that just goes outside the window, and you do what, you fly the airplane and do what the best you can do, or you hope you can do the best you can do. But I mean, I've done both training. I've done the SR22 CAPS deployment. They have a simulator in Knoxville where you can kind of feel what it feels like.
That's cool.
But I've
40
also done
pounds,
Vision Jet,
right? 40 pounds of pressure.
What happened? Yeah, I mean 40. I don't know. I mean the 22 is not terrible. I mean you definitely you feel it. But I will tell you this: the Vision Jet, you are going for a ride of your life. It is a roller coaster. I mean, like buckle up, and it is going to be and it's violent. And that's one of the things they make you do on the check ride, right? They give you I think an engine fire that's unrecoverable at like 28,000 feet, right? And you have to glide all the way down, try and pick an IMC. And their gimmick is at 1,000 feet, you break out. Can you make the runway? Nope. Pull the chute. And then the Vision Jet's 1,000 AGL, and I pull that chute, dude. The sim you think is going to blow off its hydraulic actuators.
Really? So they actually have that modeled into the sim, the actual violent movement.
For FAA certification, they have to have it modeled.
Wow.
I was talking to the examiner afterwards. He's like, that's my least favorite part of the whole check ride, because they have to feel it in the back too. They're going for a ride as much as I am, and they probably they obviously do it way more than I do. So
that's crazy.
It's the goal is never to pull the caps. I mean, fundamentally, you never want to pull the caps. But I mean, I told the story. I wouldn't have flown a Cirrus. I wouldn't have become a pilot if it wasn't for a Cirrus, because my mom wouldn't let me flown an airplane if it didn't have a parachute. So I owe the parachute a lot of my life. But now she doesn't care.
I remember that story. I remember that story when you told me that. That's so cool.
But yeah, I mean, it's the training is it's good, but it's as good as your instructor. It's like you having Brad as your instructor, or this new 12-year-old kid who's teaching you, right? It's like good instructors, right?
Yeah.
That's what is going to make you a better pilot and going to keep you safe. You can watch 50 slideshows and have a pretty girl tell you, okay, at 5 AGL we're going to pull the parachute. You need to have a good instructor to teach you, and then that's the best way. In my opinion, slideshows aren't going to do it. Instruction is key.
Does it have to be a CSIP, or is that like an extra level of Cirrus instructor?
That's an extra level.
Okay.
So CSIP is like their like gold seal. Like you become like a certified Cirrus. I think you have to have it's 1,000+ hours of instruction given in a Cirrus. There's a bunch of stuff. But no, that's just for that. So
okay.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, I don't know do you know like the Facebook group, the CSIP Cirrus Facebook group? You ever gone on there? Yeah, and like you've been on COPA, the Cirrus Owners Pilots Association?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So like all those, I mean, there's so much of guys who, hey, I'm a CSIP, I have 7,000 hours. This is the way. You know what I mean? It's a lot of that. And like, I don't know if a CSIP's going to make you a great instructor. But you sure know the Cirrus, so there's that, I guess.
It's a good marketing tool.
The forums are such a dangerous place. I mean, COPA, and then like for the CJ, there's CGP. Everyone's like there was like a whole thread last week that started, or a couple weeks ago, about like why the VNAV climbs at 222 and not 220 like the M2 does. And there was like 300 people that commented on reasons. Like, who cares? 222 or 220? Like, why? You know what I mean? And like, so like, the whole forums but I tell you, the Cirrus forum is one of the largest aviation forums for pilots that fly these airplanes and that are a part of these, so people, have different theories and caps. And some guys say I'd never pull the caps at 500 AGL. Never. Never. So, and they had to get about, I think they have something like 30% of Cirrus, pilots that work for Cirrus are actually moderators on COPA, because at one point there were so many different procedures being thrown around that guys were doing. That's and no smart. Moderation.
Yeah.
That guys are basically becoming their own sort of instructor and giving out knowledge to new people that would sign up on these forums.
Yeah.
And, so it's like, I mean, that's why my whole thing is listen to your instructor. If you like him, and you trust him, that's going to be your best. That's going to be your best because everyone's going to tell you something a little bit different.
Right.
Little things are fine, but
Yeah,
crazy.
and your instructor, whether it's like a long-term relationship like me and Brad, or somebody that you just, like a local flight school and you've had a couple of them, they at least know how you respond to information. So, they can even just present it in a way that's more helpful to you to understand the concept rather than just some forum guy. Dude, I used to have to go on forums every day for work for just years in the automotive industry, and when I finally got out from under that, I was so happy because there is no place more toxic than internet forums.
Yeah. Next time you speak to Brad, ask him about PGP forum, the Papa
PGP.
Juliet Papa. Yeah, ask him about that, and ask him about the beef that Falcon and Gulfstream pilots have. It is one of the funniest things you ever see in your life. Brad's on there. It's actually one of the forums I actually see Brad pretty active on there, and it's that one I actually is the most enjoyable one that I'm on any group.
Yeah.
And it's pretty funny. But it is what it is. But no, listen, the Cirrus is a great airplane. I think it's mind blowing that a new SR22 turbo fully loaded is $1 million now. Like, for me, that's just fundamentally insane. But listen, if they can charge it and sell it, then good for them. But
dude, a Cessna 172 is pushing $500,000.
I know, dude, it's crazy. I know. Yeah.
Whatever.
So,
I don't know. Whatever.
It's one of those things where it's, they think they can charge it and people are buying it. So why not, sort of thing.
Yeah. I hope I hope that's the reason, honestly, and I hope it's not because they have to charge that much.
Well, I know Cirrus in the beginning were charging these crazy SR2022 prices because the Vision Jet, basically they were breaking even and almost losing money on each one sold. So they were basically using the profits from the piston line to pay for the Vision Jet line.
Okay. Yeah.
And then they've raked up the Vision Jet price to like almost $3 million. So I think they're doing okay there. But, at some point you can't just keep raising. You can't see an SR22 G6 going to $2 million. You know what I mean? So at some point it's going to have to plateau. And at some point there's not going to be that many things they can add to these airplanes. That's always the thing, right? You get to the point where you've added all the gimmicks, you've added all the bells and whistles and all the funny stuff, and you just have nothing more to add. And I have to be honest, I think with the Cirrus, they're getting really, really close to that. I'm not sure what more you can get.
I don't know either. Maybe ABS would be like a gimmicky thing that doesn't weigh that much, but it's not an S-Class. So you can't start adding stuff to the weight of these planes. Otherwise, you have to fundamentally change either the engine or the wings,
It's already a heavy airplane. The 22, I flew. It's a 3,600 pound, max takeoff weight airplane. That's for a piston, light piston. It's a pretty heavy airplane.
Fully loaded, like a fully, just everything on it. What's the useful load on it with full tanks?
Well, I think it was exact number. It's somewhere around, I think, like 800 or 900. I forgot the exact number. But you can, I've taken full fuel, me, Josh, John Fly, Britt, and like 150 pounds probably of bags and full fuel.
Okay.
And
that's pretty good.
And we were there, and I've done me, Ty, Josh, and John, and I think we had to take off a little bit of fuel. But that's 4 grown men.
That's 4 big ass dudes.
And me and
none
Ty
of you
not
guys are
smidgen.
So,
So
Holy
it can definitely take some lbs for sure.
Yeah.
But
it's
it's not a Caravan. So
no.
But no, dude, I'm stoked you're flying it. It's how was pilots tonight? You get yelled at?
Not too bad.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't think I screwed up too much. I was like nosing. I
get yelled at even when I don't screw up. So yeah, no, it's all good.
I was like heading straight for the Bravo. I had to lower to like 2,500 because of clouds, and I like almost busted the San Diego Bravo. Before, and I had to ask Goldsy politely if I can get let through.
Yeah, see, that's why you get so lucky though. You always have Goldsy on. It's not fair. You always have Goldsy, and I always whatever. I don't have Goldsy, which sucks. So whatever.
He is the
lucky,
best, but I like
he is the best. He's a legend. Him and Marcus, legendary.
Anthony's been really good too.
Yep. Anthony's good.
Yeah, it's good having him back, and Scott. I don't know. It's gotten better. It's gotten better from what it was like in actually the beginning of the year. I feel like
unflyable. Honestly, I couldn't get a radio call in. There was 50 airplanes in SoCal. Like it was.
Oh
crazy.
yeah, the busyness was insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how you liking that CJ?
The CJ?
You're 550 you've been flying around. It's been blowing up on my recommendation on YouTube.
Oh. Dude, I freaking love that plane so much. Like you know Paul, Citation pilot.
I do.
So I've flown with Brad in the XL. I've gotten like a handful of basically ground lessons in a 5, a Bravo. So all the kind of 5 series citations.
It's a 501, right?
Yeah, Paul's got a 501, which is essentially the 2, the 550, but just with a shorter cabin. So it feels like I've been in so many of these 500 series citations that I was telling Julia too, and I was like, I got to teach you how to fly this citation in the sim because it seems so easy to fly that plane. And Brad has said, in like the ground instruction and the stuff that he's done with me, he's like, dude, there's like 3 things you got to turn on before you take off, and then it's just a big bonanza at that point.
Yeah, no, for sure. Do you have the sound pack in that thing?
Yes, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah,
it changes.
Awesome.
In the 750 too. Like those 2 things together are just like it's so much fun. Yeah. It's perfect for Pilot Edge too.
Yeah. No, it's I was happy to see you flying that thing. It was cool, and Finbar's gorgeous livery. I mean, it's a win-win right there.
Yeah, have you seen the real world livery? A picture of it?
I have not.
He like crushed it. It looks exactly like it. It's unbelievable.
Because he made 2 Romeo Fox for me super kindly, and it's so good.
Yeah, I was next in line. He was like, as soon as I finish with this one, I'll work on yours. And I was like, dude,
that's awesome.
Do not take any focus away from Max.
That's awesome. No, it's super cool. It's good stuff. Cool.
Yeah, man.
Well, I hope my old former Cirrus Max knowledge was sufficient.
No,
honestly,
it's awesome.
Like, like when you don't fly these airplanes, right, and you start flying other things, and there's other, it's like Brad knows this, like you start flying other airplanes and different systems and different things you start focusing on, like when I got recurrent in the SR22 a couple months ago, like I opened up the POH, I'm like, I got to get back and like know this thing a bit again, because like it's been a while since I've flown this thing, and I have like 1,000+ hours in that airplane, but it has been a long time for me. So you just start to prioritize things and think about things differently, like touch and goes. Like, dude, I didn't touch and go in like 2.5 years. You know what I mean? Like, like you just don't think about that stuff in a jet. You just like you just focus on such a different sort of flying and different sort of thing that then when you go to say like, hey, tower, I'd like to do some pattern work, like what? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
it just feels foreign.
It feels very, very strange. It's it's good stuff though. No, it's
I clearly can't relate to your level of experience, but when I went back into the Piper after flying that 172 for such a long time, like some of it was like, oh my god, I remember, like some of it starts rushing back, but you have to pay attention to so much stuff, and unless you're like a savant like Brad is, where he could pretty much jump in anything and just figure it out on the go, which is part of the reason why I don't jump around into too many planes in the sim, because I just don't focus on each little nuance of these planes, and there's so many of them. So if you're used to not screwing with switching fuel tanks because you've been flying a Cessna, I will forget to switch tanks. Yeah,
but like that's the thing though, like with jets, right? Like in my opinion, like I've flown a bunch of different series of jets now, like different CJs, 4, 3, 2+, M2, different avionics, Proline, Garmin, right? And like, obviously the plane's different, right? It's a different airplane, but like what I've learned is like the jets they all kind of work the same. Like there's just a flow to how jets operate, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like you go from like that to like a whole different world of piston GA flying, and it's like, it's just different. It's just, it's just like, it's just very different, like boost pumps and leaning your mixture and props and like all this stuff that you don't, think of, like you don't really think about, right?
Brad has said consistently, he's like, jets are easy to fly.
They're way easier than an SR22. The CJ3 Plus is easier to fly than the SR22. And that's just because there's less workload, right? The vibration tires you out.
Yeah.
But besides, the only thing different about the CJ that would make it harder is because you have to stay so much more ahead of the airplane because it's just faster and just wants to freaking go flying, right? Like I see that picture, and like the fall, right, is like climbing at like 8,000 feet per minute, whatever it was, right? Like obviously you're not going to get that in an SR22.
No.
But besides that, staying ahead of the airplane, it's a so much more easier airplane to fly. Landing, you don't like, dude, you pick a spot and you fly it down. That trailing link landing gear just basically kisses the pavement. That's it.
Yeah,
right?
that trailing link is so nice.
It's great. In the SR22, dude, if I did that, I would be going bouncing down the runway for about 5,000 feet. And no, but you know what I mean? It's just so different. And honestly, like for me, like a prop scares me in the front now. Not scares me, but like it's like, damn, I actually have to like worry about not like prop striking this thing.
Yeah.
And like a jet, like I got two nice things behind me. Everything's happy. I can just fly her down and I'm good. Like, but I got a prop I got to worry about and keeping the nose off, and it's just different, dude.
Yeah,
it's
and the
different.
size too. Yeah. Like I've noticed a lot, in the 2 jet trips that I've taken. Like the size makes a huge difference. Like you don't get tossed around that much. You can be a lot more stable coming in. You've got, like nice and even thrust, ideally, and it's like all the variables that being in a small light plane are like taken out of. You can throw around. I mean, you can land a Cessna a million different ways and kind of have the same result after all of them. A jet, there might be a handful of different ways you can, come in a little bit higher, come in a little lower, whatever. But it's more consistent. It's stable. You're not screwing around with too much stuff.
And the weight too, right? The weight makes you feel, I think, so much more sturdy.
Yeah.
A heavy airplane, you're not going to get tossed around like a silly chicken at 1,000 feet, right? You're going to be relatively stable. And also, if you get in a problem, not that you want to make yourself get in a problem, but let's just say you get in a wind shear situation, right? You have so much thrust in these airplanes to be able to, get out of a situation if you're ahead of the power curve compared to in a 152, 172. You're probably just going to sink and die. I mean,
yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like there's just things that, it's just different. It's just very different. But I think it's super awesome that you've been doing these jet trips and you can kind of see it from both perspectives. You know what I mean? Like Paul's great. Brad's obviously awesome. Like seeing it from their perspective, I know, Owen, and stuff. So it's cool, man. You're becoming like an influencer on the West Coast, man. I gotta
I don't know about that. I'm lucky to even be around these great pilots and listen to them even for a little bit, and just being. Yeah. I'm sure you saw the stuff from last night. Like just being a part of it and being up front during, an IFR formation flight and hearing the brief and seeing, seeing what spooks Brad. Seeing where where he's out of his comfort level, and and
it's obvious. If someone at Brad's level of very, very high proficiency and experience, for them, it's obvious. Not many things rattle someone like a Brad, but when or something that doesn't feel right or not in his, it's noticeable. It's the same thing with me. You'll see, and my demeanor will change if something's just. I'm just a bit off, right? Not from a flying, but something that I'm doing that's just a little bit abnormal.
Yeah.
That it's just different. It's very noticeable. You can't really hide it. So it's a good point. Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to see, and that's what something that's kind of lost in the YouTube videos a little bit, and for good reason, which is why I feel lucky to be in the cockpit for some of this stuff. Where there might be a cut that out or.
Well, yeah, I mean, have you seen Malibu Pilot's last video? Did you ever watch him?
Yeah.
Okay, did you see that? Okay, so that's a great example right there of making a video that exposes him for making a absolute terrible decision on every possible aeronautical decision-making table and platform, and then posting it on YouTube and embracing it.
Yeah.
But there are, first off, most guys I would hope wouldn't make a decision flying in 50-knot winds, and then two forget to go full mixture. But anyway, it's a separate issue. But you know what I mean? Like, there's just so many other things of guys that, which I don't blame them. I wouldn't want to post that, nor would I want to ever fly in that. But I wouldn't if I, somehow got myself in a pickle, and like, it's just not something that I don't think should be out there. And again, I would hope I would make the right decision and not do that.
Right.
And I think everyone else at that airport probably did because no one else was flying around. But, that's a good example of someone that made a mistake and then put it out there. Totally fair. But most guys just don't want to do that. It's just the risk reward thing. The FAA is watching all of us, right? They are so big on YouTube right now. It's not even funny. I've had 3 friends get calls from the FAA in the past 4 months. Not because they've done something wrong, but it's because either someone commented on a post and then they responded and they didn't like their response and they got really upset and called the FISDO and report. There's just so many things, right? So it's like
make that 4 in the last 3 months, by the way.
Okay, 4. So there's just so many things, right? That it's like, so why do you want to expose yourself even more?
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And I think that's why you don't see a lot of guys being like, I made a boo-boo. It's like the guy posted like he messed up the Rudy 6 departure from Teterboro. Why would you want to post that? And his title was, I messed up the departure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Good. You posted that. We learn from the mistakes. But I just feel like, I don't think we can get on guys for not posting mistakes because there's just first off, there's too much to lose. And 2, I would hope guys make better decisions than some of the decisions that I see out there on the internet. You know what I mean? So
it's a very thin line. Part of it is debriefing a mistake is really good, to help everybody learn from a mistake that you made if it was an honest mistake. But there's also like a self-preservation thing, I think, too. And I don't know if it's a good thing that the FAA is cracking down on some YouTube videos, but it does probably help start to expose or weed out some of the videos out there that are not helpful. And I think if something is not helpful, they're probably more likely to say something even if a mistake is made, but the end result is helpful.
Absolutely. And even on top of the FAA, I mean, the insurance industry is watching us. I don't want my underwriter to think that I'm making bad decisions. I want him to think and for him to know that I'm making good decisions, and that's why he insures, the airplane. You get what I'm saying, though? There's so many different facets to not just, and it's like, and this is kind of getting off even the YouTube thing, but you want to make good decisions. You don't want to make bad decisions because it's exposure.
Oh, yeah.
That, as a professional pilot or a recreation pilot that takes it seriously, you don't want to be that guy. And to be honest, Malibu Pilot on that video, not to get on him again for the second time in about 2 minutes, but he was that guy.
Yeah.
He was just that guy. That's okay, but it's in a way it's you see crashes, you see guys make bad decisions, and it's those guys that make the good guys out there's lives a lot harder because they make bad decisions, and it increases our exposure, our liability, and on and on and on.
Yeah.
So you just have to be very careful, very, very careful.
Dude, I think we need to do a round. I need to resurrect Angle of a Talk.
Yeah, dude. What happened with that? It's
Oh,
gone.
what happened is it's the last one I did was like right before my check ride push, which ended
Okay.
up being a lot longer than I was expecting.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I mean,
Yeah, we
like
should-
this, I mean, I've obviously experienced a lot more, so I have a lot more of my own experiences, but so have you guys too. And
Yeah.
as
I feel like you should interview yourself at some point. I think that'd be like you should be like, what have I? Let me interview myself.
well, that's what all these streams are, is just me talking to myself.
I know.
I told you, because
funny. No,
Julia, I don't know if you've seen any of the streams that my wife Julia has done, but
I did. I was watching when I joined you guys at Palomar. I loved it.
Oh, that's
She was
right.
Like, that was like the highlight. That was awesome.
she loves it. Like she's completely on board, and I'm going to have to go back to the office now. Unfortunately, it looks like the end of this week. So she was like, "Show me how to get the thing up and running, and I will stream when you're at work." I'm like, "Oh my god,
Dude, that's you can be a 24/7 operation here. Dude.
24/7." But the first thing that I told her, like when she did her first stream, was it's weird talking to yourself, right? Like, I mean, obviously there's a chat where people are asking you questions via text, but it is, you are the only voice, and it is a weird thing to get used to just talk one-sided.
Yeah, it's definitely unorthodox, but I think if you can get her to the point where, and that's where I am, that it's actually relaxing. It is actually I tell you, it's like you have our crazy days, we have our crazy lives, whatever, the world's falling apart, all this stuff. But like to be able to get and hang with your buddies on stream and be able to kind of do something that's taps a whole different part of your brain and be able to have a camaraderie with everyone else. Like in a way, it's peaceful, it's relaxing. You know what I mean? And it's like you have that initial like high anxiety, high stress, but then it like becomes like this is like really fun.
That's how I felt today. It was just like a long day, and I was like just excited, and I couldn't wait to start streaming. And I wanted to fly this plane and just.
But you're also lucky though. Most wives and girlfriends would not let their loved one stream, 3 times a week. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. I am very lucky with her for more than one reason.
Yeah. So it's I think it's awesome, dude. I think it's super cool to see her so enthusiastic about it, and yeah, it's awesome. So no, we should definitely do it though. I'm definitely in.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Let me know what your schedule looks like. Whatever, I will accommodate. I work during the day, obviously, but any day of the week, if you want to do it sooner than later, like, I mean, this kind of turned into one, but I'm thinking of like a million questions to ask you.
Yeah. We'll do it for sure.
Any update on August?
No, I mean, I'm pretty much gonna be there. Sometime, I can make it work kind of, sometime kind of from August 8th, 9th, 10th, somewhere there for the third week. So I got to fly my dad out to Jackson Hole. He's going to be spending time out there. And then I just have to basically hunker down some plans. My mom has some stuff going on, and my dad. So we just have to figure it out. But I think it'd be better for you to tell me kind of a date, sometime like second week of August, when you think we could do it, and then I will make it work around that.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to say like the 8th. Like the 8th is a pretty.
Do the following.
Yeah.
What's the following? Like
the 15th.
Yeah, can we let's 15th, let's rock and roll.
Okay,
I think
15th.
that would be really that would be really good.
All right, I'm down. We'll do it. I'm writing it down, and we will start. Dude, I swear, we sat down and we're like, okay, this guy's gonna come. It can conceivably be too big.
Well, I don't know about too big, but yeah. I mean,
for the airport, like holy crap, we have 30 planes at French Valley. Like, where are we going to put all these planes?
Yeah, I looked at French Valley though. It's a plenty long runway. So
yeah, jets go in there all the time.
Yeah. No, it works to me.
Okay.
So yeah, that works. So no, I think 15th would be good for me. Just because I know I have something going on that first week, so I just want to make sure that I am good to go. So cool. I think we have some Bermuda trips. So yeah, cool.
All right, wheels in motion, and then pick a night this week, and let's do let's resurrect Angle of Attack. And I have so many questions, dude.
Sounds good. Let's do it. Sounds
I love
good.
you, Max.
All right, buddy.
All right, dude.
See you, buddy.
All right, man.
Thanks, man. See you. Bye. Bye.
Peace.
Peace.
Okay, so that was a lot. That took a turn. Things took a turn there. We went from a burning Cirrus out in the woods, or not in the woods, in the desert, to chatting with one of the greatest aviation ambassadors and human beings that I've had the pleasure of knowing. So that was cool. If you guys haven't seen the Angle of Attack podcast, when I was working for Newegg, a colleague of mine and I had a podcast. I've done like a number of podcast stuff before. It's always been something that I really enjoyed doing and making, so it was kind of a natural thing for me to try to do one for aviation. And it wasn't anything like it was like I'm not trying to make it a podcast like I have a podcast. It's like a different form of video to do every once in a while. So I have one with Max. That's like the Max origin story. I will try to find that really quick and post a link for it. But it's just fun to be able to talk to some of these guys that I fly with or chat with in Discords and are in the community and stuff. It's nice to actually just sit down and talk with them rather than be in like a stream situation or having to juggle certain things. So Max is awesome, and I mean, hell, we were just blabbing away there. Okay, here's the Citation Max one. So check this out. This is basically the format for the podcast, but it's really fun. So looks like we're gonna do that sometime this week. And the fly-in is August 15th. So that is tentatively in the books right now. So if you guys are on the West Coast or have access to airplane or want to make it out to Southern California, August 15th we'll be at French Valley apparently. So that's pretty cool.